Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of our um, colleagues, students, researchers joining all around the world. Join us today for our second Going Organic seminar series for fall 2021. Thank you all for joining today. My name is Dil Tavaraja. I'm an associate professor leading Clemson University Pulse Quality and Organic Nutritional Breeding Program. Before we start the program, I really like to thank my sponsors for this Going Organic program. United States Department of Agriculture, National Institute of Food and Agriculture Award, number 51300, NIFA OREI for both peas and lentil breeding, USAID Feed the Future Innovation Lab, South Carolina Department of Agriculture, the Good Food Institute, the Food Shot Global. I thank all the sponsors for supporting our Going Organic program. Secondly, I like to thank Mr. Tristan Lawrence, our program manager who makes things happen on time. Today, we are planning for some field pea trials, but he was delighted to stay and do all the required actions to get this webinar successful. Now let's move on to the program. I'm very excited to introduce today's speaker, who is well-known bean breeder. I am pleased to introduce Dr. Mathieu Ngouajio. He is the National Science Liaison for Plant Systems and Organic Farming at the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, NIFA. Prior to this position, Dr. Matt served as a national program leader from 2013 to 2019 in the Institute of Food Production and Sustainability, where he administrated the competitive grants programs including ORG, Organic Transition, Organic Agriculture Research and Extension Initiative, OREI, and also Agriculture and the Food Research Initiative, AFRI. Prior to joining NIFA, Dr. Matt was a professor in the Department of Horticulture at the Michigan State University. He was a bean breeder with the Research and Extension appointment. He received a Master's of Science degree in the Weed Science and Plant Physiology from Virginia Tech and PhD in Weed Science and Plant Biology from Laval University, Canada. After his PhD, he completed 2-year postdoctoral research at the University of California, Riverside in the cropping system. Dr. Matt is a fellow of the American Society for Horticultural Science and the past vice president of ASHS. He represented NIFA primary regarding programs related to plant systems as well as organic farming. Thank you, Dr. Matt, for joining and spending your valuable time with us. Now, the floor is to Dr. Matt.
Thank you, Dr. Tavaraja, and thank you for inviting me to join your team today and to share some of the information on our organic programs at NIFA. It is always a pleasure for us to share what we do with the scientific community like you. And I'm trying here just to share my screen. Yes, can you see? Yes.
Yes.
My screen here.
Yes, we
can. Okay, cool. So again, thank you for this opportunity. I wanted to go through a quick overview of NIFA. Then after that, I will talk a little bit about the organic production system itself, and then finish with our programs that focus on organic farming. So as you all know, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture is the extramural science funding agency within USDA Research, Education, extension mission. We do invest in and support initiatives that ensure the long-term viability of agriculture. We also provide funding and strategic leadership for programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries in agriculture-related sciences and technologies, and to reach the people who can put those discoveries into practice. Well, if you're asking what are the areas that we cover at NIFA, it's very broad, as you can see there on the screen. We cover things all the way from advanced technologies in animal systems. We do cover business and economics. We have a full division and program focusing on education. More recently, our environment portfolio has picked a lot of speed. So we're doing a lot in environment with climate change, a lot of work in farming and ranching, and that is the program where organic is located. We do also fund research in food science, health, and human sciences. And as many of you know, we continue to have a significant engagement in international activities, especially those that will benefit the domestic agriculture. And we continue to invest in natural resources and plant systems. Now, just a quick overview of the organic sector. You all know that the organic sector has been growing almost a 2-digit growth over the last decade. These are some statistics from the most recent agriculture census. And you can see there on the graph that between 2016 and 2019, we have 17% increase in the number of organic farms, 31% increase in total organic sales, and the total certified organic land has also increased by about 9%. And that is not just here in US. We are seeing similar trend in Europe. And in Europe, more importantly, that is powered by both production and processing of the organic sector. If you look at the graph on the left, that is organic production. And you can see how processed organic fruit and vegetable, the blue bars, are really important. We also have in the red bar there, the wine industry, the organic wine industry that is growing a lot in Europe. On the right, we have the number of registered organic farm or operations. And you can see again, increasing significantly over the last decades. However, when you now look at the investment of major economies in research and development in organic sector, that is where we had some sort of a disappointment because that investment has remained flat over the last couple of years. And if you can see here, the US has maintained a completely flat investment over the last couple of years. The only major economy that has invested in organic system is the German. But as I'm going to show you a little later in my presentation, there's been a big change in investment here in the US. Now, discussing the NIFA organic programs, which, as I showed earlier, we need a strong investment in research and innovation if we want to keep up with the pace, the growth of that sector. And NIFA has helped fill that gap by stimulating cutting-edge research to address the critical needs of the organic industry. Most of our programs at NIFA are open to organic agriculture. So you don't have to see the word organic in a program to be able to submit an organic project, unless that program is dealing with GMOs. So these programs include both competitive competitive programs and also capacity programs. However, we do have two specific programs that are focused exclusively on organic agriculture. One is the organic transition, and I will refer to that as the ORG. And the second is the Organic Agriculture Research and Extension Initiative, the OREI program. So while I will focus my presentation on those two organic programs, I just want right now to let you know that there are many other programs within our agency with a significant portfolio in organic research. One is our AFRI, Agricultural Research and Food and Research Initiative. We have the SARE program, the Beginning Farmers and Rancher Development Program, a more recent program called the Critical Agriculture Research and Extension, the CARE program. We also have the Specialty Crop Research Initiative, SCRI, the Small Business Innovation Research, SBIR, and obviously all the capacity programs like HASH project, multi-state projects. We also have many other agencies within USDA that support organic agriculture. One is the Agricultural Research Service, ARS, the Economic Research Service, ERS, the Agricultural Marketing Service, that is where you have the specialty crop block grants located, and the NRCS, and the National Agricultural Statistics Service and the National Agricultural Library. So we are not the only one, but we have many other agencies. If we look at those two specific organic programs, the organic transitions, we expect to have a budget of about 7 million this year. However, the Organic Research and Extension Initiative, our budget for 2022 will be 30 million. Now, what do we cover for those programs? The organic transition will focus on activities that will address the need of those farmers that are transitioning to organic farming, while OREI will be addressing the need of those who have already adopted the organic standards. So that is usually the big difference between the two programs. But we also do have a significant difference in eligibility. Look here, the organic transitions is only open to colleges and universities. So that is very narrow eligibility, while the other program is very broad. OREI is open to every single person who could claim to be a US citizen. So very broad eligibility for OREI. Now, how do we determine the challenges of this industry? As you can see, these are only two programs, and for us to be able to determine what is important, we need a true partnership among all the stakeholders, including farmers, the government, e-organic, NGOs. So we work all together to determine what is important for the industry. We also look at things like the Farm Bill. We look at national surveys, listening sessions, meetings. And when you look at all of that, you will realize that the need of the organic industry is very broad, and it will span the entire supply chain from production all the way to the table. So very broad challenges that need to be addressed by those two programs. Now, how do we do when we collect all those needs? So basically, we take the need both from government, the farmers, NGOs, and we translate all those into what we call the RFA, which is the request for applications. And then we use very strict panels review systems based on scientific merits to award project in these programs. And we also, after the project have been awarded, we use a very strict post-award management to make sure that the researchers are doing what they promised to do. Now you will ask, what are some of the priorities of the two programs? Well, there's a significant overlap between the Organic Transitions Program and OREI. If you are focusing on production efficiency, profitability, or making the farmers more competitive, you can easily make the case that your project would fit in either of those two programs. Now, if you are focusing on ecosystem services, like water, soil, pollinator, biodiversity, carbon sequestration, or if you are working on tools that will help us better understand the impact of organic production, then the organic transition will be more appropriate. Also, if you're working on alternative to tools that have been removed or that are being phased out from the national list of accepted substances through the National Organic Program, NOP, then it will also fit in organic transition. Example will be antibiotics or methionine. Those are tools that are being removed because we don't want to use those again in organic systems. If you're looking for a replacement for that, the organic transition will be more appropriate. Now, looking at OREI, that is where everything else will fit. For studies that will help improve operating systems, on-farm research, education, post-harvest, plant breeding, IPM, education or curriculum development, all that will fall into OREI. And you need to look at the specific RFAs, request for applications, to see the specific details of those priorities. I will say here that we have been pretty lucky because this organic program, Congress, has supported us very well over time. If you just look at the budget of OREI starting in 2004, it has had a steady increase over time. The only year we started with about 4 million. Then 2008, it increased to 20. The only time when there was no money was 2013, and all of you will remember the sequestration that year. And our budget now, 2021, has increased to 25 million. For next year, it will be 30. And 2023, we will have a budget of 50 million for that program. So pretty lucky. It's a program that Congress really liked to boost. There's another view. The 2018 Farm Bill increased our budget from 20 million all the way to 50. But they gave us enough time to do what we are doing here, go and tell the scientific community that there's an opportunity to compete in this program. So the budget stayed at 20 million from 2019 to 2020. Then it is increasing progressively because Congress figured out that just dumping too much money at once would not serve us well. They wanted to do it incrementally. So we're asking you, and we notice each time there's a big increase like that, we also see that the success rate for application will go up. Now, what type of project do we fund? For OREI program, we have 3 types of integrated projects. That is either research, extension, and education in a combination of those 3 elements. The first, the tier 1, will have projects of up to 3 million. This is one of the rare programs at NIFA where we can offer an award of up to 3 million. And we are even thinking of increasing that to 5 million. Tier 2, 1.5, Tier 3, 750 for more specific programs. We also fund education for people who are more at those institutions that can only do a lot of teaching. We do offer 50,000 for conferences or 50,000 for planning grants. Now, for the organic transition program, we only have one type of project, and in 2021, it was 600,000 project. You may also ask how many projects we receive for those programs every year. And it really depends. The maximum has been around 140 proposals. As you can see here, started very low in 2001, and it's going up and down. And the green bar will be the number of projects funded. So again, other than 2013, when OREA was not offered, we have about 100 projects for those two programs. This is another look at the same data where you can see a steady increase in the number of projects, total number of projects, cumulative projects that we receive. And so far, as of 2020, we have funded close to 360 projects for those two programs. Now, you will also ask, what is the success rate of those two programs? And on average, if we put together everything, it would be about 24%. And as you can see there, back in 2001, it was 75%, but there were only 4 projects funded that year for a total of 5 proposals submitted. But overall, we have maintained a success rate of about 24%. Now, if you want to look at the different programs separately, I just wanted to point out here from 2015, overall, the organic transition tend to have a higher success rate. Like I told you, very few, the eligibility is very restricted. But between 2015 and 2018, both programs were really similar. But after 2018, the organic transition again is having a significant higher success rate. And this year specifically, it was close to 60%, which is the first time I've seen something like that at NIFA in 8 years. I just want to step back here before showing you the next set of data. This is a map from the 2019 organic survey. And look at the state with the top organic farm. You see there at the West Coast, Washington, California, Midwest, and North Central. Those are the places where you see the most higher number of organic farms. If you also look at organic sales, you see the same thing. West Coast, Texas, North Central, New York, and Pennsylvania. And the reason why I was showing that is so that you can see where are our projects coming from. Most of the projects submitted to our program come from exactly the same places: West Coast, North Central, and Northeast. We do also, I would like to point out here for South Carolina, that we have received a significant amount of projects from US state. Now, those that are funded, it's the same picture. West Coast, North Central, and Northeast. And look at South Carolina here again, has received a significant amount of funding from our program. This is the number of projects. And this next graph shows you the total amount of money received, which again show the same type of picture: West Coast, North Central, and Northeast. We also, when I started at NIFA back in 2013, we were asked to do a significant campaign to increase funding in animal systems and small and minority serving institutions, and also to increase the number of projects in the South. And over time, we have made a significant improvement in those areas. We see many projects funded in the South and in animal science this time. We were also asked to increase our funding of projects in both animal and plant breeding. And as you see here on this graph, we have been able to increase the success rate of projects focusing on breeding here in blue, as opposed to the rest of the program in green. So on both those fronts, we have made significant improvement. Now, you saw that we have a significant increase in our budget going from 20 million to 50. That is going to be a great opportunity for us to stimulate research and innovation and to tackle big challenges in organic. Some of the things that we are hearing from our stakeholders is to focus on both research, to promote research and innovation, to explore new extension opportunities, and to continue to train the next generation of organic farmers and leaders. Some of the ideas have been to develop new tools for use by farmers, like seed, natural products for pest and disease control, to develop smart tools that will help them prevent fraud in organic system. We want also to better understand the human dimension of organic farming and to make the knowledge available and accessible to farmers. These are some of the resources that are available. I put that here in case any of you would like to see more of the funding opportunities that we have at NIFA, our competitive grant programs. So I have that here. But I would like to end by sharing here the contact information for myself and our organic team. So it is myself in plant systems. I have my colleague, Dr. Smith, Steve Smith, who is the national program leader in animal systems. And we have a new program specialist, Dr. Nirjat Tiagi, who joined us about just like over a year ago. And the organic programs are managed by two division directors. Dr. John Erickson, who is the acting division director for plant systems. And we have Bob Godfrey, who just joined us, I think, less than a month ago, the new division director for animal systems. So with that, I think I will stop. Since this is mainly to have a discussion on the organic systems, I would rather stop there and address any question that you may have. So, back to you, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Matt. Thank you. It was very informative. So, audience, please send the questions via chat or question and answer. Dr. Matt can answer and we can discuss. While the questions are coming, I can start the discussion. Dr. Matt, it was very interesting to see that how U.S. is investing money on the organic agriculture as well as compared to the other countries. We are sort of behind, but we are catching it up. But as a scientist, when I go to the market, I see some of the USDA certified organic product that is not actually produced here, which is especially for my case, for lentils. I see a lot of coming from South America, but it has the USDA certification. So what are these the same USDA certified farmers growing, or what is the status there?
Okay, so the question is about organic products that are imported but do have the USDA certification. I will start by saying that it's a great question there. And even though NIFA has nothing to do with the entire certification process, because that is managed through our national organic program, which is at the USDA headquarters within another agency called Agricultural Marketing Service. However, I would say US and many other countries have what they call equivalency. So if a country, let's say Mexico, want to produce something that they want to sell in the US market, they can be registered through that equivalency program that is managed by their organic program, but also with some oversight by the US National Organic Program. That is the reason why, by having that equivalency, they are capable or they are allowed to use the seal, the USDA organic seal, because it has been vetted by the USDA National Organic Program. And you will see more and more of those things, especially for commodities that cannot be produced easily here in the US. I mean, you would expect things like banana, most of that coming from abroad with the USDA or organic seal. So that is the main reason for that.
Yeah,
it's
that's very
because
interesting.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Please send the questions through chat if you have any questions related to grants and how they're selecting and things like that. Until the questions coming. My next question is, Dr. Matt, I see that a lot of organic produce, that is fruits and vegetables, is the major component in the organic industry. What do you think of organic grains? What's your idea about the future of organic grains, which is very hard to produce organic because as a breeder, we control management. Those are difficulties. So what do you think of the future of organic grains?
For the future of organic grains, I would just say with my previous researcher at myself, I would think everything started because back in 2001, when I was a postdoc at that time, most of the research being done was focusing more on fruit and mainly vegetables, short cycle crops. And part of the reason is when you are growing a short cycle crop, you can easily control things like weeds or diseases. But when you are moving to long cycle crops, mainly grain and things like that, it becomes a lot more complicated. And also, when you are doing a large scale production, even nutrient management becomes a significant burden on you. But as time goes on, we are making new discoveries just in the area of weed control for some of those crops. I have seen just using cover crops and using a roller crimper to crimp some of those cover crops and plant the main crop in the residues, that you are able to control the weed for a long period of time. So you are seeing more and more things like corn, soybean come into the market because we are learning more on how to manage those different crops. But again, I can only see a major increase in that over time. And we continue to import some of that from abroad again. And that's one of the key issues of the organic programs, is to increase the competitiveness of the local organic production rather than relying on import for feed or other things. Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I see as well. But do you think that eventually, I know organic means that non-GMO, but still we can use gene editing techniques to understand the pathways or the mechanism, but we really can't use it. So do you see that in the future, maybe this new technology might have influence on organic agriculture?
Yeah, and those are the things that actually last week, the National Organic Standard Board had their meeting. And part of the discussions there were, what tools can be used for plant breeding. So as we go, you will see more and more some of those tools being accepted in organic, as long as they are not GMOs. So I heard a discussion about cell fusion, something like that. As long as you are dealing with the same botanical classes, things like, so there's been a lot of movement in that area. And there you also hear some of the technique like CRISPR and other things that are still under the debate as we speak.
That's true. Thank you so much. Now, questions are coming. This question is from Dr. Boyles. Thank you, Dr. Matt, for taking time to provide this update. Do you see a gap in research extension and or teaching within the organic sector that is not being adequately addressed by the universities? Example, developing strong market value chains.
Exactly. That's such a great question because when you see the organic sector has not invested that much in developing market chains. We have not done very much uh, in the area of better understanding the human dimension of organic. We have not done very well in the area of training the next generation of organic leaders. So those are all gaps that exist. But the problem that we have been facing with this program has been how do we promote research in those areas when at the same time we cannot set aside specific amount of money reserved for that? Because that's another thing, another area. We cannot just say, out of the $50 million that we have, we are going to reserve 10 million for projects focusing on value chain. Each time we try that, we have a significant pushback from our industry. They say, leave everything open, let everyone compete. The best project will rise to the top, and that's what we found. You cannot choose who is going to be the winner or who is going to be the loser. But that is a great question. There are so many other aspects of organic that we have not really touched. We've done a lot. We've done a lot in the area of, crop production itself, but other aspects, we still need significant work.
Thank you, Dr. Matt. There's another question from new faculty, one of the research assistant professor at the Department of Forestry and Environment Conservation at Clemson. She's asking, are there any funding types in OREI particularly tagged to new investigators? That means less than 3 to 5 years experience.
Okay, that's a great question. Unfortunately, we do not. Because a new investigator, it's a category that we use only for our AFRI programs. However, whenever a project comes from a new investigator, just me sitting in the panel for these organic programs, those projects are viewed very, very positively. Also, you saw some of the categories of project. There was a planning grant. We also offer those planning grants, very successful for a new investigator, up to 50,000. That can allow you up to a year to put together a really good team for a larger project. So we do not have new investigator, but even with AFRI, our success rate is still way higher than what you will get with AFRI, a new investigator.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. This is a very interesting question, Dr. Matt. As I said at the beginning, there's like international colleagues from Africa and India, they join. Sometimes they register and they take the video later. So one of the plant breeder from India asking, as we are going to practice organic farming, but by considering the rapidly growing population, is it possible to meet their demand of growing population from organic production. He thinks organic production is really low at the beginning, especially in the countries like India, and same as the US. So he's asking your view on how these two going to feed each other.
Okay, thank you. That's another great question, and we hear that a lot. When people say, is organic production going to feed the world? And my answer has always been, probably that's not the right way of asking the question, because it's almost like saying we are going for a one size fits all. I always see organic production as another tool that we put in our toolbox for food security. We are not going to look at just one thing or one production system that is going to solve all our problems. But as we go and learn more about organic production, our goal is to increase this relative proportion of organic in our basket. That's the way we look at that at NIFA, because again, we continue to promote organic, but we also work with other systems because we think, we need all those. We can learn from each other, and we can correct some of the issues in organic sometime by learning from conventional and vice versa. So that's how I will address that. I would say, let's look at it like an extra tool in our toolbox.
Exactly. That's how I feel the same way. And Dr. Matt, is it the USDA certification systems that may be changed based on the country? I think Europe has a different criteria than US, and then India, like it doesn't need to be 3 years of transition before it go to organics. So things can change depend on the country and how they look at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And I know the equivalency, I think, in place with India already. So if someone is in India and want to know what are the requirements for certification, they can go to the national organic programs and look for that equivalency. So it's already in place with Mexico. And every country is different, like you said. Yes.
Yes. So now kind of science questions and related to the program questions. One of the scientists is asking, will the program support funding research towards organic soybean breeding and production challenges? Example, nutrient acquisitions in the US. This is for soybean.
Okay. Example of programs?
Yeah, it was not clear. It says that will this program, that mean the ORG or OREI, will support?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. As long as you are dealing with organic systems, we cover pretty much everything. These are the two programs that we have to cover everything in organic systems. So yes, it will cover that.
And then one from Dr. Rusky. Would recombinant bacteria with pesticidal properties could be considered for organic production as a pesticide?
That's a great question. And to be honest, I cannot provide an answer to that because those type of questions go to the National Organic Standard Board. It's a board of, I think, 12 or 15 members. And usually they will take that specific product. They will have a listening session throughout the whole country. They will compile that information, and they will vote for accepting that product or not. So it is something that individually, it's difficult for me to say it will be accepted or not, because it has to go to that board and they have to make a decision as a team.
That's right. That's what I thought too. And then another question about specific programs. Are you seeing an increase in proposals, research projects that are attempting to address the issue of resilience on tillage in organic production? Basically, the question is no-till organic research. Will that funded by NIFA?
Absolutely. Those are the areas where the cropping systems where we actually receive, I would say, over 50% of the project that we receive will fall in that category of cropping systems, cover crops, minimum tillage, things like that. Yes, we do receive a lot of projects in that area. And we do fund those projects also.
Okay, so there is like another typical question. Before I go there, I also have another question about the specific program. So, Dr. Matt, you talk about a lot of education. How do we bring this organic education extension into the undergraduate or graduate programs? What are you envisioning? Is it like undergraduate curriculum or the graduate students more working on organic-based research? So, what's the future and what do you envision on these education programs?
Okay. Yeah, and that's another good question that you are asking there. And I would just want to clarify because there's sometimes a lot of confusion between education, the way you see education and the way we see it. The same thing is true for extension. So at NIFA, when we say education, we do not include a student, master student, postdoc, things like that, because they are considered to be part of the research for us. We do not consider graduate students that you hire in your lab to have you process your sample, things like that. That is not considered education for us. Education for us means things like classroom teaching, new classes, things like that, not hiring. If you were to put a graduate student or a postdoc on your project, that will fall under the research component. Now, the same thing is true with extension. If you have a program that requires extension, let's go back to education again. You have a group of farmers that you are bringing on campus to teach them something, or you go and educate farmers. Again, that is not considered education to us. It is extension. So when you're dealing with farmers, it's extension. When you're dealing with graduate students, most of the time it's a research. So those are some of the little differences that even myself, when I was on the as a faculty member, I never saw those differences that way.
Thank you for clarifying that, because for me as a teacher, in the lab, I'm a teacher, in the classroom also I'm a teacher, and in the field, I'm also a teacher. So it's like, for us, it's a different way. Thank you for clarifying it. I think it would help all the faculty who are joining today with this. Now I'm going to ask you some of the broader question from the audience. This is kind of a general question. I get this, and I'm sure you will get this all the time. What are your thoughts on genetically altered plants for us to eat? Basically asking GMO food.
Yeah, since I'm representing NIFA for this presentation today, we are highly advised not to give our personal opinion when it comes to an official presentation like this one. I think I would dodge that question and say I don't have a personal thought that I can share now on genetically modified altered plants. It is just because, again, representing NIFA, I have to represent all our stakeholders.
That's
and
exactly
we are
right.
highly advised when it comes to personal opinion to avoid that. Now, if we are done with the presentation and we are having a beer somewhere, maybe I can talk about my private view.
Yeah, I know you are a bean breeder, so yeah, no, that's why I kept it for the last for that. Those are the panel questions all came, and is there? We still have like 5 more minutes. If anyone has questions, you can send me via chat or question and answer. And this is really interesting how education component and Dr. Matt, do you know that there's any organic curriculum in the United States in the different universities, like having undergraduate programs? Can you comment?
Oh, absolutely. We have already funded about 2 programs, but those were mainly online programs. So, and if you want, I could share that with you later. That information with you later. Yeah, we have funded 2.
That would be very useful.
And the only reason why we only have 2 was because we were not even allowed to fund education through our ORAI program. We needed to have a change in the 2014 Farm Bill to allow us to do that. So when the program were put in place, Congress only gave us the authority to fund research and extension. So, and when the community realized that education was also a big need, they have to work very hard. And finally, in 2014, they included education as part of our portfolio.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Oh yeah, there's more questions coming. This question is about, you emphasize the data about funding by state. Do you encourage or discourage collaboration of OREI program research between institutions in different states?
Oh boy, that is a great question. And we absolutely want to see that collaboration, especially for those integrated project tier 1 with $3 million. If you look at the RFA, the request for application, you will see that we specifically ask to collaborate sometime throughout the whole country. And we have some project with more than 15 PIs. So that is one other area is we like to see 1862 working with 1890 or even 1994 institutions. Those are the type of collaboration that we want to see. So although I show their award per state, most of those awards will actually have sub-awards that will go to other states. We like to see that collaboration.
Yes, thank you so much for that answer. I think that's all the questions we got. Maybe more coming.
Yeah, while waiting for the question, I would just want to say anyone who would like to submit a project to this program, if they cannot do it right away, one way to learn more about successful project is to come and serve on the review panel. So that is the way you can learn about the program. You can see how sausage is made. And most people who are successful are those who have served as review panelists. So, and you, Dr. Tavaraja, you have served on many of our panel, and that's probably the reason why you are so successful.
Thank you so much for that advice. Yes, yeah. When I was assistant professor, one of the program manager, Dr. Ed, called me and said that you should start serving on the committees. So that actually helped. Thank you so much. One last question. This is from our international community. And they are asking, is there a way for these NIFA projects that international NGOs to collaborate?
Absolutely. The answer is yes. And if you look at our request for application, there's a language in there. Although we cannot make an award to an international organization, they are allowed to collaborate with domestic organization to solve an issue that is critical to organic production in the US. I always give an example. If you're looking for an insect or trying to control an insect, and you know that that insect came from, let's say, Peru, you can always go and collaborate with people in Peru and work together to better understand that insect that is causing problems here in the US. But if you're just submitting a project to solve an issue that is specific to an international country, then you can easily see why people will say, this is not the mechanisms for that. We have the US aid for international development. They are there to solve problems at international level. We do not want to compete with them because this is a domestic program. But if we have to go and get expertise internationally to solve that domestic issue, yes, there's opportunity for that.
Yes. And there's no problem with the US NGOs. They can connect anytime with the...
Exactly.
Yeah. So all our projects, we have NGOs from North Carolina, everywhere from the here US. I think we are running out of time, and this is a really informative session, and I learned a lot from you, Dr. Matt. It was really wonderful to have you and talk to us about your program, funding, and how we can write good proposals, and encourage everybody to participate on whoever wanted to be on the panel. That would be wonderful as well. And if you're interested, you can email Dr. Matt or like send your name. That's how, because some of the comments were like, how do they connect with the panel? So probably they had to email Dr. Matt or the program managers. And with that, I really like to thank you on behalf of the Clemson University and on behalf of the Clemson University Going Organic program. And thank you for all the support from NIFA, OREI, ORG. And we are looking forward to working with NIFA and especially with you. And if you have any last thing before we say goodbye.
No, just thank you for the invitation. Thanks.
Thank you.